All right. So, welcome to the Community Lightning Talks, Business Problems Solved by the University of Alabama, Huntsville, UMBC, and the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research, UCAR. And with that, I will turn it over to Jessica Rogers.
I am Jessica Rogers. I'm with the University of Alabama in Huntsville. And today I'm going to be talking about our transition from an aging homegrown ERA system to Kuali and how using Kuali allowed us to bring participation of our faculty and research staff, eliminating some of that administrative burden on us. So before we get started, I think we mentioned this before, but we do ask everyone to save their questions and enter them into the chat feature. We will go through as many questions as we can at the end of our presentation. So I want to give just a little bit of background information on UAH. We are in Huntsville, which is in northern Alabama, and we are close to NASA Marshall Space Flight Center, Redstone Arsenal, and Cummings Research Park. Cummings is an area that houses many engineering and research firms, and the proximity has made it really easy for companies like Boeing and Hunted Alpha and UAH to partner and collaborate, which ends up making us a very contract-heavy school. So including myself, there are a few other admins out of the 14 of us that have some large delivery type contracts. And then our research centers and colleges are divided up amongst the remaining staff. We are predominantly an undergraduate school, and our specialty is engineering and atmospheric sciences. For FY 2020, I have noted the values and proposals submitted, awards and expenditures, which we do tend to average $80 to $100 million in awards each year. So you can see our 2020 numbers show that we were pretty busy for that particular year, for last year. In our organization chart, here you can see pretty much all of the offices that fall under our Vice President for Research's office. Our Contracts and Grants Accounting office recently joined the fold as they were originally under General Accounting. Contracts and Grants Accounting, Research Security, and the Research Information Systems office were involved in our transition process as well, since some of their information was rooted in our old system. Which big shout out to our Research Information Systems team, specifically the Director, Roy Guo, who I believe is on this call today, and our ERA specialist, Scott Sandlin, for taking the reins to handle the data transition and the behind the scenes for like system admin rules and setup. So the modules that we have implemented were the Kuali Research and the COI. We are housing this data on the cloud because we did the server on-site approach with the last system, and we determined that we did not want to do that again. The maintenance and upkeep of that system was more of an inconvenience because you had to be remoted into campus in order to use the system, not to mention as it got older, it would crash and we would have to re-enter data, and the downtime for maintenance in general was becoming a real inconvenience with our deadlines and the volume that we had coming in on a daily basis. We are looking into incorporating the protocols. We have that module, but we have not shared or started the implementation process yet. We will be working on it and the system-to-system portion of Kuali Research later this year. We're still working the bugs out on our end when it comes to entering that detailed budget. So before, we were using our on-site ERA system, and we are a banner school, so we were using Banner's employee module to give our PIs a way to get their training reports, like financial disclosures, current and pending, proposal approvals, and access to our research dashboard, which gives them a rundown of their department or center's proposal count and value, as well as the number of awards and expenditures, pretty much a more detailed version of what I provided for you all on the information slide. Kuali Research in the COI modules met our immediate needs of getting out the old system, though that meant we had to also come out of Banner for some things. Just to give you guys some detail there, our old system was built and designed by an incredibly talented engineer and programmer who developed the system for our office in the late 90s, early 2000s. And over the years, he was able to customize that system according to our needs, but we were starting to quickly outgrow it. And the gentleman who developed it was getting closer to retirement with no one in place to keep it going or update it. So Kuali offered us the most features, and it allowed us the ability to capture what we needed now and still left us room to expand. So as we analyzed our business processes during this implementation process, we saw that we were really going to need a lot of training. So we took advantage of train the trainer and developed our own guides from those materials. We also had a train the trainer session where the deans, chairs, and center directors could come in to see it before it went live. We thought we had a lot of training before, but it really expanded when we onboarded with Kuali. Internally, we had several sessions with our staff to make sure that they understood which data fields we were going to use and how we're going to use them and how we were going to use them. We did make some adjustments as we learned more about how this would show up in reports, as that data actually gave us a better reflection as far as if you put A, B, and C, that it will populate with D. Recently, we have made some more pre-recorded training available along with live sessions, handouts, both electronically and hard copies, although those hard copies were more so prior to our COVID situation that we have going on now. So we were really lucky that Kuali allowed us to maintain a lot of the processes that we already had in place. We were already keeping up the majority of our work electronically. So with this transition, the biggest process that changed for us was the fact that the faculty and research staff now had access to starting their own proposal processes. Before, this was something that was exclusively left to the sponsor programs office. And we really did welcome this change in the process because, as some of you may know, working with faculty researchers, it can be a little touch and go. I mean, you may have a lot of plates that they're juggling, and they may not be quite sure if they're moving forward with that proposal or not. With them being able to pull a number and keep that number until they are settled on what they want to submit, it really has relieved a lot of our administrative burden of keeping up with the massive amount of communication concerning things that may not even be submitted. We could then prioritize what was ready to move forward with the submission process. As our researchers determined that they were ready to begin the submission process, they could then notify their admin by providing the budget details, and the admin can go into Kuali and pull any additional information or the whole proposal if it's there minus that budget. They can do the review, get any budget approvals, and then approve the Kuali proposal as the first reviewer so it can move through the approval process. We had a similar approval process before, but the only difference now is that our admins are involved in electronic approval of that proposal as well, which lets us know as someone who is a team lead and our assistant director or senior assistant director and our VP for research, it let them know that the proposal itself had actually gone through the appropriate channels, meaning their administrator, before it actually went on to approval. So far, training has been strongly encouraged, but our hopes is to make it mandatory by 2022. They watch our Kuali training, or either they watch our Kuali training or attend a live session before jumping into the Kuali process. Since we have made a requirement that the PI starts this process in Kuali themselves, this is very important for us. It also gets them to complete their financial conflicts of interest early, as well as answer any particular COI questions that we have built into that proposal certification feature. They can get all of that done on the front end. We were able to streamline a lot of our documentation as well that went to Contracts and Grants Accounting Office for the account setup. Although we are also eagerly waiting for a little more customization on what you can print and send in Kuali. I just came out of that PDF feature session before this one, so I'm looking forward to some of that stuff that's going to be implemented. And so our OSP office has been able to give back a lot of that accounting details that had somehow landed on us, and we were able to eliminate like our paper packages that were being hand delivered to accounting, and they can now retrieve all of that information from Kuali. So if there is any paper, it would just be for our files, though the current situation has determined that physical paper is not really a necessity like it once was. So in the extremely near future, we will be tackling the detailed budget. So we can use the system-to-system feature. Since we use Kuali to house all of this information, it will be nice to not have to then go to another system, at least for the research community, to upload their proposal again, if we can help it. With us being a contract-heavy school, we plan to expand our use of the negotiation module. We think this will allow for any admin to come and pick up where someone left off. with negotiations and just general tracking of the draft contracts that are still in the negotiation process. I know we're not the only school probably trying to navigate the foreign influences, so we are hoping to expand the COI portion to include that, but that is also being worked out amongst our Office of Counsel, so we're not 100% sure as to what the end look of that will be, but we are hoping that it can be housed and maintained and formatted within the COI module itself. Lastly, we do plan to implement the protocols module after we get the S2S in place. We will be working with our IACUC and IRB committees to lay out the questionnaires and show them how protocols could help researchers get their forms to either the panel more efficiently, as well as how the committees can use Kuali to manage those projects that fall under their review. So thank you so much for your time. I'm going to hand this back over to UMBC.
Thank you so much, Jessica. That was a wealth of information. I'm going to move to the next slide. All right, my name again, welcome again this afternoon. My name is Chanel Rome. I'm the Assistant Director for UMBC in the Vice President of Research Office. Today, our presentation is about automation and integration on our campus. And good afternoon again. And my name is Chanel, and I'll turn it over to Dean.
Hi, this is Dean Drake. I'm the Associate VP for Research at UMBC. Chanel, want to flip to the next slide? There we go. And so this slide is just basically, as we all the universities presenting today are doing, is just giving you some basic data, the size of the institution. The picture here is of a UMBC alum, graduate, Kizzy Corbett. She is shown with Dr. Fauci and Dr. Collins. She works at NIH and was central to the development of the mRNA vaccine and Lilly monoclonal antibody that were first to enter phase 1 and phase 2 trials in the US. Her lab actually chose the coronavirus spike protein as a vaccine target. So we're very proud of some of our alum, and that's just one that I wanted to take an opportunity to mention. Chanel?
All right, our structure.
So from an organizational standpoint, our Vice President for Research reports up to the Provost. We have one associate that handles the Office of Research Development that handles the relationships. The other associate, me, who works with our different offices, the ERA office, which Chanel runs, the Office of Research Protections and Compliance, that handles all of our compliance items, IACUC, IRB, COI, IBC, export control, RCR, all of those things. Sponsored programs, which is all the pre-award and non-financial post-award. They also handle data use agreements, and our Office of Technology Development that does inventions, patents, licensing, and all of our MTAs and NDAs. Our contract and grant accounting, which is kind of unique for, well, I won't say it's unique, different institutions handle it differently, reports up through the Vice President for Research, for Finance. So one real quick thing before we get to that, Chanel, I did want to mention that our relationship, so because our finance group is in PeopleSoft, our relationship between in those communications is one thing that is a challenge for us, because we don't have that financial communication going back and forth. We have set up some bridging, but for the most part, we're just getting the feed from the HR PeopleSoft feed and not from the financial component. Okay, Chanel. So one other overall approach and broad things before Chanel goes into the actual challenges and business processes that we improved. Overall, we're bombarded with new and improved systems on a daily basis. And I don't know if I'm aging myself, but man, I tell you, it just seems like every other day there's a new system out there that we have to learn. And so I think one of the things that we have to continue to remind ourselves as we go embark on a new system is making sure that the systems are improving the processes and not hampering it. And we've certainly found that out with our Kuali implementation. And one of the things that I kept telling everybody, look, there's a lot of great stuff here. There's a lot of nice things. We want to make this a one-stop shop for all of our internal customers. We're going to have everything in there, and Chanel will give you a slide as to all that we've implemented so far, but it's not going to be a panacea. It's not going to be a cure for everything. And so make sure that you're balancing those expectations, and we did that. And also that the cost, you're weighing the cost and the impact of the faculty. We had a faculty member come to us and said, you know, I like this, I don't like this. This is creating more problems for me than not. And we really want to hear that, because it helps us identify where those challenges are and helps us make sure that we can address those challenges. And so outreach and awareness was another big. We started probably 2 years, if not more, talking about Kuali before we actually brought it on board and started implementing. So there was a lot of things that we did. And also the other thing that we really looked at was identifying what data points were the system of record. It was really key that we made sure that we understood who was responsible for certain data. That was really critical, not just because of from an administrative standpoint, because we were able to say, well, that's a PeopleSoft Office of Record data, or it's an OSP Office of Record data in Kuali. We were able to do that, but when we also started to share data, we were able to identify, okay, if this is the system of record for that data point, let's make sure that the systems can communicate instead of having faculty or administrative people re-enter data. How do we make sure that data integrity is being maintained as best as possible? So with that, I'm going to hand it back over to Chanel to give you a little bit more detail.
Great. So as Dean said, in 2015, we began kind of the purchase of the Kuali Research Suite, but implementation activities pretty much began in 2017. And we started implementing the proposal development, institutional proposal, subaward negotiation, award, conflict of interest, IRB, IACUC, training and city feed, and unfunded DUAs. We did this pretty much in a trickle-down effects. We focused on the sponsored programs functions of the activities first, and then we moved on to compliance. However, we did implement all of those activities within a 2 to 3 year period. The main course of action, or the main reason why we did that, is because we really wanted to get everyone all on board for this collaborative workspace. We wanted to get all the stakeholders involved and really work on training and things of that nature. We wanted to create, as Dean said, a one-stop shop. We wanted to increase collaboration, enhance document storage at one place for all things related to sponsored programs on our campus. Plan for the future, we have external commitment, COC, nepotism, family, COI, unfunded agreements, MTAs, and NDAs. Currently already implemented DUAs into our system. So our questionnaire is housed all the way in Kuali. And that's extremely beneficial to us because the compliance office, the technology and licensing office, they can all see that in one place. Before, we had Google Docs, we had PeopleSoft, we had outside systems that worked, but we put everything into Kuali Research. And not only can the investigators look back at that information, but our technical licensing office can, as well as OSP, any stakeholders involved in the process. Future planned is export controls, IBC build, data exports and reporting. Currently, we are utilizing SciSense. Like I said, we went full steam ahead with the whole entire suite. In addition to that, internal proposals and limited submissions. Currently, we are routing some versions of internal proposals, but we hope to get limited submissions in the system as well. The WebNet system feed and patents and licensing. Let me make sure.
For those that don't know, WebNet is a training used by environmental safety and health.
Great. Okay. Oh, in the previous slide, I did put our implementation schedule on there so you can kind of see how we took those things through, and also our entire training and development plan. We don't go over our training a lot, but we have a lot of great training tools. The young lady, I call her my fairy godmother, Pat Slaybach, is on the call, and she helps me come up with so many of the trainings and the videos, and all that information is at the link at the bottom of this slide. Okay, automation and integration. Simply put, we weren't automated and we weren't integrated. As Dean said, we were using PeopleSoft, we were using multiple systems on campus. We wanted to create a one-stop shop, but streamline the system with seamless transitions for all our users, whether that be PIs, business admins, chairs, deans, students, internal customers such as compliance officers or OSP. Pretty much everyone on campus who had a hand in sponsored research, we wanted them to utilize the system. And this is one of our paper routing forms. It's actually starting to go through Kuali versus all across campus. All right, what was the problem and how did Kuali resolve it? As I said, we lacked integration, and what we wanted to do here was pretty much integrate all of our business processes on campus. And we knew that we couldn't update our business processes until we implemented a new electronic system. So with that, we also took all of our business processes and pretty much revamped them. That took a lot of work, but it was crucial in the process in making sure we were coming on board with a fresh set of eyes, and also how do you maintain procedures. So at the same time that we were doing the business fit gaps and implementations and going live, we were also implementing new procedures or had new procedures written out and established to kind of cover that entire ground for our customers. What else did I want to say on this one?
Well, I'd like to add a real quick shout out to Amy Taylor, who used to be at Towson. Amy was and I think she's listening or part of this present or one of the attendees. Amy actually, when she was at Towson, initiated the cloud version. Towson was the first one within USM, and enabled us to really get that USM-wide procurement started. So Amy, thank you.
Thank you, Amy. And actually, that's perfect part of this slide, because I do want to tell you the part of us going to Kuali, and we'll talk about that, and is just the real support between other institutions and things like that. But the biggest thing for us was we wanted to create a platform and a space for research continuity, but it helped that 9 of the 12 University of Maryland system schools were all signed on to implement in our very stages of implementing Kuali. So that helped us, and we were able to assist each other through networking, through meetings, but also the principal investigators, they didn't have anything new here when they were talking to colleagues at other schools. You're using Kuali, I'm using Kuali too. So that was refreshing for our internal and external customers. We were also able to identify Kuali as a system of record, so people weren't getting confused. Am I getting this information from here, there? No, Kuali is your central one-stop shop. You can go there. And our integration with PeopleSoft Finance and HR and City and visual compliance was solidified our progression to obtaining and keeping that goal on our campus. Okay, what was the problem and how did we resolve it? Again, automation. So I'm going to take this back very simply. Electronic routing and approval.
Looks like we may have lost Chanel. Let's just give her a quick second here.
People had hierarchies in all these units in campus. We don't have to think. Hold on.
Chanel, we lost you for a bit. Could you start
Can you hear me?
back up again? Yeah, we lost you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me now? Okay,
Yes.
great. Let me put it back on view. That is horrible. Why is it doing that? Now it's on a roll too.
Yes, you were.
Okay, I'm gonna get to that screen. It's just loading again. Okay. Oh, it came right back. All right. Electronic routing and approval. The dean, the chairs, the things of that nature, the people, the routing stops. We don't have to think about that anymore. The paper process, we were largely paper. Also with PeopleSoft, it was very simplified. We were not capturing co-investigator and key personnel. Now we can capture both of those. Also, they can certify right at their fingertips. It was kind of a funny joke because our principal investigators at other like faculty senate meetings, they would be like, on a roller coaster, approved my proposal, certifying while I'm at the beach. These things were largely important because before, their admins used to have to run around campus or things like that for multi-interdisciplinary proposals and things of that nature. They don't have to worry about that anymore. They can focus on the research, and their admins can focus on assisting them with a harder task versus other tasks. Same thing with the notifications of awards, disclosure, and training. For instance, we capture all of our training in Kuali under the person record. So all of the persons, if they take Kuali training, when they sign up for awards or proposal development, in addition to City, everything is in their person record. That streamlines what I'm going to talk about next for IRB and IACUC. The other thing is for notifications of awards. You don't know who your business administrator is or things like that. You don't have to think about it anymore. Our contract specialists aren't coming up with a long listserv of who to send the notifications of awards to. Literally, the system is just pushing that information out. And that was largely helpful for our OSP staff in managing those things. The unit hierarchy was definitely a godsend there. Same thing with unfunded agreements. All the questionnaires, DUAs, MTAs, any of those are
Yeah, all of those things. I'm just going to pick up because of timing, and we'll let Chanel come back on. So all of those things were critical
all
as
questionnaires in the Center Information Technology Group to up. Can
Chanel.
you hear me? Go ahead.
Yeah, you keep popping in and out. That's okay.
Am I
oh yeah, go ahead. Keep going. Keep going. Yeah,
okay.
start.
I'm going to try to
let's
wrap
this slide up.
Okay, yeah. So yes, IACUC sponsor identification and standardization. We were able to put all the risk assessments and the subcontract forms in there, as well as increase our data validity and get that information out, not always in the forms of reports, but also data extraction for the units and people that need to know that information right away. In real-time statuses of proposals and awards, did they go in? We currently are using the S2S function as well, and that was working. And lastly,
one real shout out,
finding the right.
Real quick, Chanel, one quick shout out for the COI stuff. When we turned that on, it accidentally got turned on in production. And we had faculty going in before we even did any training, just going in and doing their COI certifications. I mean, we were getting them like by the dozens coming in, and it was just amazing. Without any training, they just went in and started doing them, and they were doing them correctly. So it was quite a shout out for Kuali on that one. That really was truly a system that was automated to the T.
Perfect. And finding the right partner is key. We've had too many experience with off-the-shelf products that have no interest in our needs. And finding the right partners is key because we did that with the Kuali suite. We were able to create a shared workspace for all users on our campus and continuously enhance and make the best product for them as trends changed in the industry. And the biggest example I can give you that is the HERD survey. With NSF, they were changing things recently in terms of reporting, and we wanted to make sure the accuracy was there. So we were able to create and edit new fields in the process. So like basic, applied, and experimental. And we wouldn't have been able to do that with our old systems. And we were able to make sure those HERD survey results are right. So many things that we were able to capture within the system, we were able to configure, and Kuali Research was able to fit our needs. So thank you for that. And with that, I'm turning it over to you, Car.
Great. Okay. Thank you, Chanel. I don't know about the rest of you, but Chanel, you make me want to go out and just implement a bunch of stuff. So we are the University Corporation for Atmospheric Research, or UCAR. We're here today to do a show and tell on deliverables management, or as Kuali calls it, limited editability. I am Kelly Langmeyer, the project manager, and I have here with me today Carolyn James, who is our cloud solution analyst. Carolyn, do you want to introduce yourself?
Sure. You're probably asking, what does cloud solutions analyst mean? It's now that we're in the cloud, I manage service desk tickets. I'm the interface with our users, and I also interface between the business side of the house and the more technical IT side.
Great. And Chanel, you can, yep. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. So UCAR is a nonprofit consortium of more than 115 colleges and universities. At UCAR, our vision is Earth system science for a better world. And if later when you get the recording, you can visit our website down at the bottom there. So our structure is, we are not a college or university. We've included our org structure. Our member colleges and universities elect the Board of Trustees, who hire the UCAR president. UCAR manages NCAR, which is the National Center for Atmospheric Research. on behalf of NSF, and our community programs provide a suite of innovative resources, tools, and services to researchers, educators, and practitioners in the Earth System Science community. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Carolyn, who is going to talk through the rest of the slides and introduce deliverables management to you.
Thank you, Kelly. Can you go back to one more slide? Thank you. I wanted to start with sharing a few pictures since we're all remote. In the upper left is the iconic IMPay designed NCAR building on the mesa and the hills and the foothills west of Boulder, Colorado. And if you get a chance, once the world reopens, please come check it out. It's the People's Building and it's lovely. And we have interactive displays in the front and hiking fields nearby. Travelog finished. Down below is the building where Kelly and I work. It's the administrative work site, the Foothills Lab Anthony's building, which is a LEED certified platinum building in Northeast Boulder. And I wanted to put it in there because who knows when we'll get to go back into the building. I thought it would be nice to also share two of our Earth System Science tools. We have the NCAR Wyoming Supercomputing Center and the Cheyenne Supercomputer, along with the NSF NCAR Gulfstream 5 aircraft. Now let's take a look at UCAR by the numbers to sort of give you an idea of the size of our company and the size of our research portfolio. Last fiscal year, we had over 800 awards from over 300 sponsors and $256 million in expenditures. We have about 1,400 staff, and that includes all of our scientists, programmers, accountants, and all of us. So where are we now? Our journey began in 2018 when we went live with Kuali Research on-premise with awards. And then in December, we had a very successful launch where we went live in the cloud with awards, and we added a new module for us. We added the investigator conflict of interest. And adopting the COI module was a bigger change than just moving awards into the cloud, as we were using a labor-intensive paper and PDF process. So that's had the largest change management for us in this phase. Our next phase will be to retire our legacy pre-award system and move into the cloud. This will permit us to take advantage of the strength of having one integrated system for pre-award and post-award. And today, I'd like to discuss what we've branded deliverables management, and Kuali calls limited editability, which just became available for all of us. We identified a gap in functionality for institutions like UCAR that are decentralized for the entry and management of award deliverables. For our decentralized organization, it was not appropriate to grant these users full edit permissions to their awards. So we worked with Kuali to create limited editability roles so that we can extend the management of deliverables and supporting actions within awards to our decentralized lab administrators and researchers. With deliverables management, we will provide our lab and program staff the ability to update the technical contacts, add notes and attachments, and schedule manage deliverables independent of our central contacts direct awards team. Our goal is to eliminate lab shadow systems and make Kuali the one source for award information. In that respect, we're similar to Chanel's group at UMBC. So our rollout of deliverables management will be in two phases. In the first phase, this spring, we'll introduce the management of the deliverables, attachments, notes, and the address book. But we're not requiring this of our users when we roll it out. It will be optional for them to adopt when they have the resource availability to learn it and to roll it out to their users. In phase two, we'll introduce the scheduling of the deliverables. So who are the limited editability users? I've categorized them into three. First one is the derived roles. These are the PI, the COI, and the key persons. And secondly, at UCAR, we have created what we call the admin modify award role, which for our research administrative staff. And then Kuali has also created the ability to have derived roles can now be created for the unit contacts as needed. We're not using this third one, but we are using the first two, but you may wish to use all three. So how does it work? The limited editability changes are made to the current final version of the award document. They are not in edit mode, which was important for us. We've realized that there will be some extensive user training needed, because if they modify the current active final version of the award when there is a pending version, the changes made to the current active document will not carry forward to the pending version. So that's something that we're working through. So what can our limited edit users modify? They can modify the address book. We have created 3 available project roles for these users to add, edit, or delete sponsor contacts in the sponsor contacts section of their award. They cannot modify any of the other contacts in the award. Thank you. The users can add non-employee contacts into the address book. They cannot delete entries. And in an effort to reduce errors in our address book, we require a unique email address for all new entries. And we've also included automation, which fills in the organization name to match the selected sponsor code. And I've included the parameters here in case later you look at this and you're interested in knowing which parameters you can change and what you can set. Next is notes. They can add notes into the final award. And so please keep in mind that notes cannot be deleted. And that on the right, you'll see there's a restricted checkbox, and Kat's confirmed that that is non-functional at this time. Because that came up in one of our testing questions. Maintain attachments. This is where the meat of it is for us to have Kuali be the one database. So they can maintain attachments. We permit our users, our limited editability users, only one attachment type that we're calling the report for the Entity Lab Center program. And you too can limit the attachments to as many different types as you'd like with the new parameter options. With this parameter, you can select which attachment types and the roles which will have the permissions. So managing deliverables. With the ability to add attachments, our lab administrators and scientists can upload attachments with deliverables, track who sent it and when. With this decentralized ability, Kuali Awards becomes the one source for award information and reduces the need for shadow systems. After introducing the new functionality for the address book, the notes, and attachments, we'll roll out scheduling deliverables. So our phase 2, once we've taught everybody how to use all the basic features, our thought was that, once again, there's a new parameter and permissions to which report classes you wish them to add, edit, and delete. So okay. So users can remove the deliverables on a final award version, but only for the report classes that are defined in their parameters. We feel that with this functionality, they'll be able to better maintain their awards. Can we go to the next? We provide just the one class option for our deliverable management users, the technical management for reports. And you may choose to limit to whichever ones you want. You have that ability. Can we go to the complexities? Thank you. We're still working through the complexities of the deliverables scheduling. The initial setup seems pretty straightforward, but what happens during the life of the award? How does the schedule automatically update? Does it need to be manually updated? These are some of the complexities we're working through and testing and trying to offer the best practices to our users. We want the functionality to bring value to our users and not added work with what may seem as little reward. So if you're using these features at your school, I would love to learn from your experiences, because we're just now working on this. Our next steps. We are currently testing, and more testing, and developing learning resources. Then we will train the trainers and schedule our user trainings. We expect adoption to be gradual, as we are not requiring our users to use these features right away. We'll be making them available this spring so that they can use them. And I think this will help our user acceptance and enable them to manage the change when they have the resources to do so. We've been learning many useful lessons during this process. Thank you. We've been walking down this road for a while. We recognized the need for the limited editability when we were on premise, and we started down the road of a customization. We engaged in a limited conversation with Kuali at the beginning. When we had the customization ready to go, we presented it to Kuali to see if it would be accepted as a code contribution. When we ended up making the actual code contribution, there was rework required because of the constraints and how Kuali thought the feature would work and implement into the Kuali code base. Our recommendation is to start the dialogue early about the business need before you begin coding. We've also learned scheduling and maintaining deliverables is complex. For example, as award dates move, it requires manual checking and rechecking to update the deliverable schedules. As this is going to be a user training issue, we're developing our best practice guides and recommendations. We're very close to going live with deliverables management, and we look forward to having great success as we did with our recent launch. Thank you very much.
Okay, at this time, we're going to see if anyone has any questions. I do have a few questions I want to pose to our panel today. So for UMBC, how long did it take you to implement your modules?
Okay, so it took probably about a year and a half to do the whole proposal development suite, meaning I guess institutional proposal development, all the training we did in-house training for the whole time, in addition to conflict of interest. I want to say about a year and a half. What I will say is that we were up against a deadline for our PeopleSoft version. So I don't suggest doing everything half, including our getting all our business procedures. I mean, I think at one point, Dean, was it was between 60 and 90 procedures that we implemented over time. It was a massive undertaking, but we had all hands on deck, and we were really, everyone wanted to have a better product. In addition to that, we had user support and stakeholders within the departments, department admins, PIs, everybody was on board with our user groups. So literally the entire campus kind of showed up for us in terms of the research community and trying to get this thing on board. So I want to say about a year and a half for the sponsored programs related modules.
Yeah, it was a total of about 5 years from the time we actually initiated the process. And so, Chanel's right. We had users all across the board. We had an executive board that was made up of faculty that helped us along the way. And so it was really an all hands on deck. The other thing that we made a decision on is because of our size, we made the decision, instead of trying to electronically transfer the data from PeopleSoft and our legacy systems, we decided to hand enter all that data. So we went through that process and that decision-making process. And that's a balancing act, I think, between every institution as you go through that process, because some institutions with larger data sets, it might be easier or better for them to do an electronic transfer instead of going through and re-entering the data. We recognized, because of our size and the amount of data that we had, that we felt it would also be a learning tool for our people to enter the data as we're going through the process of it was kind of training them as well. And so I think that, I don't know if that answered your question, Jessica. I think we probably provided more, but since we had 15 minutes to kill, I thought I'd add a little bit extra.
Well, thank you, Dean. Another question that was posed to me was what financial system UAH is using. Our financial system is still in Banner. Banner offers sort of like a twofold. We've been with Banner for years. I think it was, I can't remember the system before, but it was FFR or FSR, something like that before, when I was probably a small child. And then they came over into Banner. So Banner has where employee and students can come in and see their information, as well as just a general view of the finances. And then there's a native Banner where our contracting or accounting goes into in order to do things like invoicing and keep up with our expenditures. and what needs to be invoiced each month. So the last question that I have, which is for all of us really, is what were our biggest challenges with our Kuali implementation? And I'll start with you, Car.
Well, if we're talking just the implementation, probably to the cloud, I think our biggest challenge, or one of them, was just change management, working to understand what the users, how they like to be trained, and to make this easier for them so that they could accept it easier. Would you agree, Carolyn, or did you have something?
I would, and also it was useful that our people were supportive of it. So when we asked for subject matter experts to come help and to come test and to go through the training, people were more than willing to volunteer and step up, and that's important to have the buy-in of everybody. So which I think is a key that our change management was successful. We were able to get the communication to the people in the manner in which they could not only understand but accept and be supportive. We've been really successful.
All right, thank you. UMBC, what would you guys say are your biggest challenges?
Well, I think Chanel's muted, so I'm going to start. I would agree with NCAR that the biggest advantage that we had was the amount of support that we had across the board. Our unit administrative people stepped up and really provided us a lot of guidance on how things were working and how to implement certain configurations. We had multiple sessions with them, as well as faculty who were involved, and our IT group. I mean, everybody really stepped up and really helped. And, even from the VP level and the support that we got from the higher levels within the organization, we're just, and Pat just put in the screen. Also, Chanel was on maternity leave for a part of the time. Chanel, yeah, that's right. Chanel gave birth to a beautiful baby girl, Dallas, and during the time frame of implementation, which you come across these little bridges, and you have to. You just have to overcome them, and we did, and that's where Pat stepped up and helped out while Chanel was out, and so I would agree that the team approach, everybody buying into the concept and moving us forward was just. I wouldn't say it was the biggest challenge. It was the nicest component of the implementation.
I would agree with you. It's the nicest component. The biggest challenge that we faced, and I will say challenge because I don't like to say problem, is that so much functionality is so many times. Like, we really had to come up with a wish list. I know you guys see all the modules we did. Those were very, very basic in terms of the cradle to grave services. However, with COI especially, functionality was coming out so fast with COI, and especially with protocols. Protocols got a whole revamp. And we were trying to learn all the system admin functions on our end, and then also learn all the system admin functions on protocols, IACUC, IRB, and COI. That was the biggest thing. And also with education and training, you try to push that down. So for instance, I can't be the only person that knows everything. Dean can't be the only person that knows anything. Empowering your users to be able to do that. And because of that, we had so many trainings. We hosted monthly training sessions for sometimes 3 to 6 months at a time. We did it 4 times a year in classroom. Some of it seemed redundant on the entire Kuali suite. And the reason why we did that is because we needed our administrators to be ambassadors. And I don't just mean our sponsors, but you can't do it on your own. So the biggest obstacle is so much functionality was actually coming out, and we're trying to make sure we're getting that to users to kind of see what the importance is. So that was the biggest thing, the rolling, especially with the compliance module.
And I think for UAH, I can actually agree with that. As far as the functionality, it was a lot as far as, us coming from our smaller system and just having specifically, the fields or whatever that we needed to now this expansive, commercial thing that now everyone has to know. And it's not, I won't say that it's not as clear cut, but it's just a variable of options that are now available. And you can end up with data some of everywhere, depending on how individuals thought about what they were doing. And so I agree, as far as we also, we had intense training as far as if someone had something that came up different, we got together immediately to start going through that process. And we, kept training for a couple times a week, as far as just to pull our administrators. Our OSP office was the main ones that were dealing with the proposal side of the house when we first got started. And then of course the award side, but getting them trained in order to be able to narrow down what they needed and what they didn't need. And then the other side of that was getting our, I know Carolyn had mentioned like the change management, as far as getting all of our people on board. Mainly our faculty, as far as a lot of our faculty have been around a long time. And so any change in particular can be a little off-putting as far as them having to learn something new to do. So that was something else as far as, and we were lucky that we had our VPR office, backing us and also pushing this out. And we tried to keep it as simplified as possible so they could see like that we could show them how this would also better their use in the system and their communication with OSP, and making sure that what they want to be submitted and the documents that they've given us are their latest and greatest that they meant to have, because we were just getting bombarded by so many emails, because you have a lot of back and forth. And is that really what you wanted to send? Well, no, it's not. I want to resend. I want to send this one. And so Kuali just allowed them to be able to sort of cut all of that. You put in what you want to go in your proposal, and we were able to then pull from that. And it gave us some security as far as like dates and timestamps. And it gave the PI some security so they can see exactly what they sent when they send it, to see that it's the latest and greatest. So I think because of that, we were able to get a lot of our research faculty and staff more so on our side, and more support from their departments and some of their research centers. I know you can't please everybody. We have a few that are still just dead set against it, and we're going into our second year of using this. So I don't know if they'll ever come around, but I think for the most part, we've been pretty fortunate as far as everyone who has come on board with using this system.
Wonderful. Can I add something about personal information? Since we just went from a paper process for a disclosure conflict of interest, this is the significant financial interest piece for our investigators. The feedback I've received from some of our investigators during training was how excited they were to have their information a little bit more secure. When it was on a paper form or in a PDF, it's very easy for that to get misplaced, for other eyes to see it. And by being in the system and secure and only going to the appropriate reviewers and by having the security of limited access to their information, they seem to be really on board and supportive of the process. And of course, our administrators, the research administrators, are very happy to be removed from the process completely.
Oh yeah.
And UMBC is taking, we did implement a lot of things, but we're also taking a very critical eye at what modules we're doing next. We looked at build, we're looking at export control, we're looking at IBC, and we're really trying to see, okay, what makes the most sense? These are new modules for Kuali. Where are they in the process? We're lucky, as Chanel said, that we have sister campuses that are in part doing part of this. I was part of the Kuali configuration on that PDF tool as well, Jess, and I really like that as a potential for us. And so, understanding that that you don't have to do every one, and everyone may not, all these modules may not be right for you, but knowing that these modules are out there and this capability within one platform is available, I think is a real positive for Kuali, as well as the universities that decide to jump on. And let's not forget the community sharing that goes on across universities as it is. We all share the information and the things that we do, so that we're not reinventing the wheel.
Right.
I think that's a great point, because even when we were coming up with this presentation, or just presentations past, and some of the people that I see on the community or just Kuali days, but just anytime. It's so important. We're always kind of running with scissors when we're doing these implementations, but people are available, and it's a good barometer to be like, hey, you're doing that? Oh, I haven't even touched that yet. I'm still working on this. Or even when Jess was saying with the shared workspace, they were starting to have their PIs enter it there. And that's a good point, feedback that you can get that other schools are using. So education and training, I'm getting so much, and I was wondering about how this virtually would work, but so much so we just feel so much support, and it's easy to share, and it's also easy to learn. So.
I don't know that we have anything else. I think we've stretched this out as long as we possibly could. We're at 4:58. I don't know, Chanel, Kat, whoever makes the call here, are we ready to say it's happy hour someplace?
I think whenever you guys are ready, we can call it a day and sign off.
I think so.
I think so. Thank you so much for everyone who came. Thank you to UCAR. Thank you to UAH. You guys were splendid, and I hope to see you at sessions, and hopefully we can collaborate. Again, thank you so much to Kat and David Baker and Dean. You guys were fantastic.
Thanks, Chanel, for driving. Take care,
Thank you,
everybody.
Chanel.
Bye, everyone.